My opponent's main claim was that playing video games provides significant health and social benefits. His secondary claims were: 1, video games decrease and manage stress; 2, video games result in improvement in mental capabilities and learning; and 3, they provide significant social benefits. To refute the speech, playing video games does not provide significant health and social benefits. My response to the secondary claim 1. For the first claim, my opponent uses an example that strategy games like StarCraft pushes a player to multitask and address decision-making skills in both a calm and high-stress situation. Video games were referred in the speech as a general topic, and stated in the main claim was no specific type of video game. Since my opponent only refers back to the video game, such as StarCraft, it becomes harder to base all strategical video games on StarCraft and to say that video games in general decrease and manage stress. There was no specification for every type of video game. There was no specification which types of video games decrease and manage stress. For every type of video game has a different type of purpose. In fact, one of the articles he used, the positives of video games' effects on health. There was a quote that says, "Video games have positive psychological effects as well. Certain games that are used as part of a comprehensive program can further help autistic children and other children with developmental disorders, such as children going through cancer, under different circumstances that video games might help out, but that should have been specified in the speech. The reason that kids get so involved with strategy games, such as Call of Duty, the video game Call of Duty, which happens to be the biggest selling video game to date, and other strategical action games, is that they are designed to put players on high alert, to get their adrenaline flowing and their hearts racing, to be ready for unexpected turns of events. Adolescents seek new experiences and sensations. Video games are one way in which they can vicariously experience fear and mastery of that fear in situations that is not life-threatening. But in no way does the excitement of an adrenaline rush compare or lead to being a distressor. My response to secondary claim 2, stated in my opponent's main claim, he said playing video games provides a significant health benefit, which I'm assuming stood for his secondary claim that video games improve mental capabilities and learning, when in fact the explosion of popularity in video game systems and computer usage has led to the problem of carpal tunnel syndrome coming to the forefront of society in general, which happens to affect the younger generation. Not only can video games cause carpal tunnel, it causes addiction. Also, it can lead to obesity, since the world has become more and more consumed with technology. Along with that, it affects social skills, which leads me to my next point, that video games do not improve social and health benefits. Response to secondary claim 3. Video games are known to actually affect social skills, not benefit them. If one sits around and plays video games all day, they are secluding themselves from others and restricting communication, losing that face-to-face contact. Face-to-face communication remains the most powerful human interaction. As wonderful as electronic devices are, they can never fully replace intimacy and immediacy of people conversing in the same room. However, video games may also affect one's social skills by altering their behavior. For example, if you play violent games, you're more likely to have a violent behavior and react out of frustration. Also, nowadays, people are often taken advantage through the advancements within technology. Some try to recreate themselves as a whole different person. My conclusion, I do not agree with my opponent that video games benefit social and health issues.
All right, the structural things are relatively claim. You basically are starting off with a contrary position, which is fine as long as you advance that position as you're going through the arguments. And I think you try to do that. On the first point, you make an argument that says that this is not really going to produce these benefits, but your primary argument here is that the game that the advocate cites may not be the kind of games that the rest of the evidence is talking about, or it may not have the kind of strategic planning or advantages that are going on there that maybe other games don't have those sorts of things. That's a very broad generalization for you to be making. If the advocate has provided an example, it's a reasonable question to ask is whether or not their example is typical, but you don't provide any information that suggests that it is atypical or that other games don't provide the same kinds of benefits. And I think that you could probably provide a little bit of information on that that would support that position. I think you're kind of making an assumption here that that would be enough. When you're talking about the stress issue, basically you make a claim that says that it can't possibly do this. The advocate's evidence and the evidence that you cite that you basically quote, the advocate's evidence again talks about how they're looking for this rush of adrenaline and all those kinds of things. Now maybe you could make an argument that says that rush of adrenaline does not necessarily mean that it results in a release of stress. But you're going to have an explanation of that, because it sounds to me like that's exactly what's going on there. And so the evidence that you read basically resubstantiates the advocate's point instead of denying that point. On the second point, let me see. You mentioned counterclaims about physical harms that occur to people, and you mentioned carpal tunnel syndrome and issues about obesity. Well, the carpal tunnel syndrome thing, you make that claim. I didn't hear a source citation on that. The claim about obesity, same sort of thing. I didn't hear any information about that. You get to the social skill thing. There's a counterclaim on the third point, and you give us some visualization about the notion that they are secluded, but that seems to be a presupposition. You make the argument that says that you can't replace the intimacy and immediacy of human interaction that's going on there. I probably would be inclined to agree with you, but you're the one making the claim, so I think you need to provide some evidence on those points, and you don't really do that. And then on the last one, you say that, well, people playing these games, basically they sometimes just are recreating themselves in this sort of cyber environment, and I'm going, okay, well, what's harmful about that? Maybe that's a good thing. Maybe people are building some self-esteem in an arena where they have some ability to live up to particular standards, and why would that hurt their image instead of helping it? I don't really know how that advances a counterclaim on that particular point. I think you need to work a little bit on your eye contact too, so that you can build up a little more positive ethos. All right, thank you.